We are finishing today. This is week 4 of this collection, Grit. If this is your first Sunday and you're like, man, I've come on the end of the movie, you can go online. It's on YouTube's, and you can subscribe and all the things, click the buttons, I don't know, whatever. And you can go watch them all, and I highly recommend it. The story that we tell through our collection, The Grit, is life-changing. I don't know anybody that could really research this and apply it and not be changed by it. Ooh, that rhymed. That was fun. That wasn't even planned. You like that? Sometimes it just flows out of me. All right, week 4. We're closing out today. Grit. If you don't know what grit is courage and resolve, strength of character. You find your grit where you find your heart. I love this collection. I love this teaching because I think it defines and helps exemplify the heart of Village Heights and who we are. We're not a normal church. You probably not have met many churches like us. If this is your first Sunday, buckle up. We're going to challenge you. We're going to do some fun things. It's not always going to be polished because we're not perfect. If you're perfect, you got to go find another place because you're not going to find perfect people here. So when it comes to grit, and what I know about you is that God has called you to something. It might not be pastoring, it might not be ministry per se as a career, but He has called you to something. And you feel that in you. And usually whatever that calling is that thing in life that you say, I can't take it anymore. I got to do something about it. It's nobody else is going to do something. I can't stand it. I have to do something about it. You're going to do something special, and it's going to be a good work. And so Nehemiah, that's who we've been highlighting through this whole collection, he did a great work. He started out as the cupbearer when we find him, the cupbearer for the king of Persia in a different kingdom that had been taken over. And he comes to find out from one of his brothers, his family, comes back from their homeland. And he says, hey, tell me how the homeland is doing. And he basically told him it's in shambles. It has not been rebuilt. It's just rubble right now. And it broke his heart. He's looked at his people and he saw people that were hopeless and vulnerable. And he thought to himself, someone needs to do something about it. And if nobody is, it might as well be me. And so he goes to the king, which is a risky thing to do. The king, when you're close to the king and the cupbearer, meaning that before the king drank the wine, he would drink the wine, make sure it wasn't poison. And when you're that close to the king, you hear things, right? There's a level of trust there. And for someone that close to you to all of a sudden go, hey, this has been great and all, but can I go to a different kingdom and go serve that kingdom? Can I go rebuild something? Kings would get paranoid. Be like, well, what do you know? And why do you want to leave? Am I about to die? Is there some information? Are you trying to paranoia will begin. So it was a risk even asking that question. But with God's favor, the king granted his wishes. He goes and travels 1,000 miles. There was no Uber or planes or cars. Maybe he rode a donkey if he was lucky. He traveled 1,000 miles with a clear vision and a plan. And then he can't do it all by himself. So then he inspires the people to believe that with God's help, they can rebuild. And he starts the process brick by brick, stone by stone, begins. And I'm sure it was very intimidating when they began. And so they begin to have some progress because they started. And so one thing I know for sure, when the work goes down, opposition heats up. And it's not just about materials or the lack of YouTube tutorials that you can go. You're like, how do I tape and float? How do I put in sheetrock? How do I build a wall? That kind of stuff. It wasn't even so much that. Although that was a difficulty that they faced because they weren't skilled in that. They didn't have those abilities, but God provided and gave them the wisdom, put the right people. But at some point, murder was being threatened. So not only was the lack of materials, the skills, and abilities, then somebody says, oh, if you keep doing this, we're going to kill you. That could make anybody stop a project, right? If I'm building a fence in the backyard and somebody comes along and says, hey, I'm going to kill you if you keep doing it, I'm going to take a beat, all right? I'm going to go talk to some law enforcement. I'm going to say, hey, there's some guy going to say you're going to kill me if I keep building my fence, right? So that's enough to stop anybody. And he was being threatened by his enemies in the surrounding nations, Sanballat, Tobiah, and Geshem. And everything possible to distract. And one thing I know if your enemies can't destroy you, they're going to distract you. If they can't stop you, they're going to try to slow you down as much as they can. And so the lesson that we're going to talk about today is how to shut down the distractions. When you are on to something great, when you are on to something that's honestly glorifying to God and His kingdom, the opposition is going to come. And if they can't scare you away from it, they're going to distract you away from it in whatever way possible. So we're going to pick up in Nehemiah 1 through 2. It says, Sanballat, Tobiah, and Geshem, and the rest of our enemies found out that I had finished rebuilding the wall, like he'd accomplished what they said he couldn't do, finished rebuilding the wall, and it had no gaps remained, though we had not yet set up the doors in the gates. So Sanballat and Geshem sent a message asking me to meet them at one of the villages in the plain of Ono. Tip number 1, if your enemies ask you to go to Ono, you don't go. You don't go to Ono, all right? Only bad things can happen in Ono. Tip number 1, okay? Don't forget that one. Never meet your enemies there. So with good intentions, when we hear something like that, it's like, oh, our enemies want to talk now? They want to have a conversation with me? Sometimes we look at this and we go, this is my chance. This is my opportunity to convert my critics. We posted something on YouTube. I'm doing a great work. And they're like, oh, and they comment and they want to jump in now. Or they have some critique on it, right? And we think, oh, this is my chance. Don't always believe that. Sometimes we think we're going to expand our influence. And this is my opportunity to build my brand and make more money. It's only going to make it better. Sometimes what we call an opportunity, God calls a distraction. Because He hasn't asked us to go and convert everybody and change everybody's mind. Sometimes God just asks us to do something. And we think that we can change people. We can't change anybody. Only person that we can change is the one who's speaking from you. That's you. You can only change yourself. You can't change other people. You might influence. You might try to lead somebody. But if somebody is adamantly threatened to kill you, distract you, and stop you, chances are good you're not going to change their mind. They're just looking for another way to get you away from what God has told you to do. It's never been easier than now to get distracted in life. There's all sorts of things, and it's not even just our enemies. There's whole marketing teams, all sorts of things out there that want your attention constantly. Right now, in your purse, pocketbook, pocket, there is something that wants your attention. It's probably buzzed 3 times since I've started talking. Whatever app, you got to go slice some melons or crush some candy or something, right? It wants your attention. Somebody's commented and liked on your post. And, oh, that's so great and nice, right? It wants your attention. And I'm just as guilty, okay? I'm not judging anybody. It gets my attention pretty easily. I'm very easily distracted. I'll walk into rooms and I forget why I walked into that room. It just happens. But you can even go on your phone, on your computer, and now they tell you how long you've been on certain apps. If you want to shame yourself and to put your phone down, do that. It'll help. But there's things that are constantly distracting us and wanting our attention. Much less our enemies. The ones that want to stop us, right? In human form. And then on the spiritual side, there's things that want to distract us and keep us from doing good. If you're trying to work with someone, trying to disciple someone, trying to help them along, and they're getting closer to God, you ever notice how all of a sudden just the worst things begin to happen to them and distract? I'm not saying that we should be scared of hooky, spooky, spiritual, all that kind of stuff. I'm not saying all of that. But if there is a God who loves us, there is an enemy that's trying to stop from Him being able to love His creation. And whatever he can do, pride-wise, selfishness, whatever he can do, he's going to do that. The distractions are going to come. In our culture and life around us, and the enemy has been active a long time, they're great at doing things that don't matter, that try to keep you from doing the things that matter. And so, the enemies ask for Nehemiah. They're wanting a meeting, and Nehemiah rejects the meeting. And he keeps building the wall. Say no sometimes. Say no. It's okay to say no, guys. I'm giving you permission. And if someone gets mad at you for saying no to them, say, hey, go talk to Pastor Bill. He told me to say no, and I will say no to them too. And some of you might need, let's practice this. All right, 1, 2, 3, everybody say no. 1, 2, 3. No. One more time. 1, 2, 3. No. See, you can do it. You know how to say no. Even when sometimes it looks good and something that would be not a bad thing to say yes to, it could still be a distraction. And it's okay to say no. I'm giving you permission. I'm giving you spiritual blessing and permission to say no to some things. And if you can't eke it out of your mouth, you can just do this. Universal. Don't say maybe. Maybe means ask me again in 5 minutes and I'll probably say yes. No. Let your no's be no's, okay? No is actually a complete sentence. It's like the shortest sentence you could say. One word, no. If you need to practice, I'll practice with you. Because even Jesus said no occasionally. And if Jesus is qualified to say no, and he's qualified it for you, right? You are his follower. And if he said no to things, you can say no to things. You can do that, right? So if you're always available to everyone, then here's the catch. If you're always available and you're always saying yes, eventually you'll have nothing to give anyone. You'll be pouring yourself out. And that's what they were trying to do to Nehemiah. Just because you could doesn't mean you should. 4 times this happened to Nehemiah. The same exact message was brought to him. Stop building and let's talk. Here's number 5. Nehemiah 6, 5 through 6. It says, the 5th time Sanballat's servant came with an open letter in his hand. And this is what it said. There is a rumor. I don't respect rumors, and neither should you. I'll get to that in a second. There's a rumor among the surrounding nations, and Geshem tells me, it is true that you and the Jews are planning to rebel, and that is why you are building the wall. According to his reports, you plan to be their king. Rumor has it. That is like the biggest joke to me. When someone comes to me and says, hey, someone said, well, who's the someone? I don't respect someone said. If someone wants to say it, they need to come say it to my face. Because usually the someone said is the person who's saying it in front of you. They're the ones that's the someone. They don't have the guts to say it to your face. And that means they don't respect you, and I don't think you should respect the request. I don't do rumor has it. I don't play those games, and neither should you, because you're worth more than that. Rumors are carried by haters, spread by fools, and accepted by idiots. And I'm looking at a room. I don't see any idiots here. Don't accept them. There's a rumor, right? And what is the rumor supposed to do? It's supposed to make you think that there's a large crowd out there somewhere, and they're all just mad at you, and they're waiting to come get you. It's fear-mongering. They want to put some fear in you to hopefully make you stop what you're doing. It's meant to distract. You'll never do big things if you're distracted by small-minded people. Decide you are not going to let someone else's opinion of you disrupt God's calling for you. When we started Village Heights, again, I had no idea we were going to be where we are today and all the cool things that we were going to do for the kingdom. And we have a long list of the awesome things that we've done work for his kingdom, for other people, not just for ourselves. None of that would have happened if I would have listened to the rumor has it. Don't quit your day job. Are you sure? Does the city need another church? Obviously it did. Because when I look around, and I'm not throwing shame on any other churches, but there's some big ones out there. And if this church, who does not compare in size to those other churches, could do the work that it's doing, if I can do the math, this would be a changed city. And I promise you, if Village Heights ever gets to that size, we'll be moving and shaking the city for the kingdom of God. Gave me goosebumps just saying that. Woo. A wise person once said, don't worry about what people say about you, worry about what's true about you. My dad, he passed away in 2007, and he was He was one of the ones that kind of cornered the market on home inspections. He was in real estate, and around the 90s, home inspections started, a little more guarantee that you're not getting a lemon, right? Bad builders begin to build cheap products, and the cheap products, begin to fall apart. So how do you know you're getting a lemon? You hire an inspector, someone that knows what they're talking about, because not everybody has the dad that will come to the closing and go, I don't know about this one, this crack there, We don't all have that. And so my dad was that dad for a lot of people. He would go to these houses and he would do these things, and he would look it over with a fine-tooth comb. He loved doing this stuff. I didn't understand why he loved it, but he loved doing it. And he took a lot of pride in his work. But even though he did it with such pride and effort, there were still people that went against him, the people he tried to help. And there was few times that I would hear, my dad got up and he's not going to a house, he's actually going to a court. And I was like, you need to inspect a court? And he goes, no, somebody's trying to sue me. And I was like, what? Why? What did you do? And why aren't you more scared? Should I be worried, Dad, that we're getting sued? It's really a scary thing on TV to be sued. And he goes, you want to come? And I said, sure. And so he invited me to come along to one of the court hearings, a small claims court. And so when it comes to inspections and it comes to big money, when people feel that their money is threatened or they're losing, they'll begin to go after everybody to get what's theirs back because they feel wronged, right? And one of the things that my dad did, and he was very thorough, and if you ever want to be a home inspector, you need to do this. He was very thorough in documenting everything that he said. And he made everybody sign every page of all the recommendations of the things that he said. So that later on, when they want to come back and says, well, you didn't say, and he goes, nope, you signed this piece of paper right here saying that you said you were going to do it. Much like a bank. Right? Bank makes you sign everything. You can never go back to a bank and say, hey, you didn't tell me. They're like, yeah, we did, right? They've done a good job of making sure that you know everything, even if you don't understand it. Student loans, hello. So we end up in this small claims court, and I'm there, and there's a bunch of people there, and my dad walks in, and he said, that's her. That's the lady that's trying to sue me, right? And just looked like a normal lady, right? She didn't have any fangs or horns or anything, and she kind of waltzed up to my dad and had some words and was kind of a little pushy, and he's like, hello, we're here, let's do this. And so then we're waiting our turn. I'm sitting in the seat. He goes and stands in his spot, and the other person stands in his spot. And he's the defendant, so the person who's trying to, they get to say the thing first, right? I don't know all the rules. She begins to speak her case. I bought this house, and there was there's major foundation trouble, and it's going to cost me $100,000, I don't know, some large number to fix this, and I was duped, and the realtor, blah, 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 and this and that, whatever, and the home inspector didn't tell me about this. This big argument, right? And the judge, okay. And he looks over to my dad, and he says, well, what do you have to say? And so my dad, he calmly pulls out this big old binder, with a bunch of papers in it. And he starts flipping through. He said, everything that I do, I make sure they know that I'm not a professional in a certain area. And if I'm not a professional in a certain area, I tell them they need to get professional help. And he said, right here in the report, it says that I noticed this crack and that they should get an expert to come look, a licensed professional to come look at what this crack is so they can determine if foundation trouble is not. Now, when you have to go to an expert, it costs more money, right? And some people will go, oh, I don't want to spend that extra money. Maybe it'll be okay. And they take a big gamble on something they shouldn't be taking a big gamble on. And he goes, and they signed right here. And the judge asks for it, and he walks up, hands the judge. Judge takes a second, looks over it, and he goes, case dismissed. You signed it. It says right here, you need to go talk to a professional, and you didn't do that, so this is on you. Case closed. Dad calmly grabs his stuff, begins to walk out. And that lady had the gall after. And she's still raving mad. And she thinks that, and she begins to come after him. And my dad graciously, even though he could have told her off, and I wish he would have, it would have felt so good. I almost did it for him. He said calmly, he says, hey, it was in the paperwork, and you failed to do it. I'm sorry that you're in this situation. I got to go. And we leave. Don't believe what's said about you. Worry more about what's true about you. Be evident. Be just hold tight to what is true, and God will work things out. And when the distractions come, And they try to disrupt you and try to take away from you and try to hurt you because they feel like they've lost something and they're going to get it out of you. Sometimes it can feel scary. But hold to what is true, and God will walk with you through it, whatever it may be. So Nehemiah in 6:8, this is how he replied to these demands. He says, I replied, there is no truth in any part of your story. You are making the whole thing up. Rumor has it, well, rumors are garbage. And we don't respect rumors. They're trying to say that he wanted to be king, and that's why he was doing all this. That was never his intention. Instead of letting the opposition discourage Nehemiah, he was more determined than ever. Nehemiah 6:9, it says, they were just trying to intimidate us, imagining that they could discourage us and stop the work. So I continued the work with greater determination. He kept working with a tool in one hand and a weapon in the other. Ready to defend himself, but I'm going to keep working. And sometimes, and unfortunately that is the case, in your life, you're going to have to keep working with a weapon, ready to defend yourself in the other hand. When you're doing something great, that is often the posture you have to take, unfortunately. And one of the biggest potential distractions that comes with success is a distraction of an entitled spirit. Because of the price, we will say to ourselves, because of the price I paid, I'm entitled to some perks. No, God never promised perks. Sometimes we do get perks, and that's great, and what a blessing that is. But it's not always the case. Nehemiah 6:10, it says later, when he went to visit Shemaiah, names, and some names I don't really want to pronounce. It doesn't really matter. It's more of a lineage, that's a connection thing. So, and then he said, let us meet together inside the temple of God and bolt the doors shut. Your enemies are coming to kill you tonight. He's going, I'm your buddy. I've got some intel. The enemies have a bounty on you. They're coming tonight, so let's go hide. Let's go get in the temple for ourselves. And see, Nehemiah at this time, because of the work he's doing, he had some authority. People were listening. And they tried to buy into his pride and his ego. And he says, well, use some of these tools. Use the temple. Even though that's not what we use it for, use it. Go in there, lock the door, abuse your power, go hide. Nehemiah 6:11 through 13, it says, but I replied, should someone in my position run from danger? Should someone in my position enter the temple to save his life? No, I won't do it. I realized that God had not spoken to him, but that he had uttered this prophecy against me because Tobiah and Sanballat had hired him. They were hoping to intimidate me and make me sin. And then they would be able to accuse and discredit me. They were trying to buy into his ego to get him to do something that would discredit him and his authority so then they could shut it down. They're trying to get, creative with it and trying to trick him into something and make him look like a traitor to his people. He says, I'm not going to go hide out. I'm not going to take special privileges. I'm not going to lead with an entitled heart because leaders lead from the front. It's hard to follow somebody when they're hiding. It's hard to follow somebody when you're hiding. And so if you're leading something, you don't get to hide. When you are the head of something, when you're trying to be on the forefront, you don't get to hide when things get hot. You're right in the middle of it. You've led those people into it. And so you have an extra responsibility. And when you become a leader, you lose some rights. There's been a confusion with that, and we see it in politics and all sorts of things, that when you become a leader, you get extra rights. No, actually, you lose rights. You lose them. As a pastor, I lose rights. You have the right to storm out of here if I say something you don't like. I don't have the right to do the same thing. I'm here. God called me to do this. And if you want to go find another place, fine, go find another place. I can't do that. If I was to abandon Village Heights, that would be wrong of me. And I would have to answer to God for that, which I am much more afraid of than you. That's how leadership goes. He says, it wasn't about me when we started. It's not going to be about me now. I didn't come here to make a name. I came here to build a wall, and he's going to do just that. Sanballat, Tobiah, Geshem taunt, threaten, discourage, scare, and try to distract him. Nehemiah 6:3 says, so I replied by sending this message to them. I'm engaged in a great work, and so I can't come. Why should I stop working to come and meet with you? He's doing a great work. Why should he stop? What are you going to offer other than the distractions that you've already tried to throw my way? I haven't backed down. I'm going to keep going. He's not trying to do what's impressive. He's called to do what is important. And he's not trying to do what is popular. He's just living out his purpose. He says, I'm not coming down. I'm not backing off. I'm not taking my eyes off the prize. I'm doing a great work, and my grit won't allow me to stop. I don't know what everybody's going through right now. Everybody has their own things, or what you're going to do now. But whatever you're facing, whatever the thing that you're trying to do good and you're finding the opposition, it won't last forever. It won't. It will pass. Things will keep going. Just keep doing what matters today. And you're like, well, what about tomorrow? Don't worry about tomorrow. God can worry about tomorrow. It's got enough worry for itself. Scripture tells us that. Worry about what's today. Just do the next right thing today. In this season, this is your calling and you're doing a great work. If you're trying to build a business, believe God for his provision. If you're trying to love a stranger through action groups, continue to move forward and know that the seeds are going to be planted. If you're trying to pay debt dollar by dollar, keep going. It's better you do that than not. If you're trying to save a marriage and you're wondering, is it worth it? It is. Now, caveat. Some people are being abused in marriages, and that's not okay. And if you feel like that's happening, go talk to somebody. I'll be one of those somebodies, and I will shed light on what darkness is for you. Do it all the time. But if you're wondering, is my marriage worth it? It is. And sometimes we get distracted by our own insecurities in our relationships, and we let our baggage get in the way of getting close to somebody. Let's not let that happen. We hear voices of discouragement. We have spiritual opposition. We hear people laughing at us. And we're doing the work, and we can't come down. Nehemiah 6:14-15, it says, remember, oh my God, all the evil things that Tobiah and Sanballat have done. And remember Noadiah, the prophet, and all the prophets like her who have tried to intimidate me. So on October 2nd, Scripture says this, you can go back and look. So on October 2nd, the wall was finished just 52 days after we had begun. 52 days it took to do that. No, it didn't just fall from heaven a wall. The stones didn't miraculously get mortared in all by themselves. It took hands and work, constantly moving. It didn't come out of the mouth of a talking donkey. No food came from heaven. There wasn't a burning bush. There was no parting of the sea. There was no fire in the sky. There wasn't an army of 10-foot angels, eyes blazing with fire, wielding chainsaws, coming down to mow down their enemies. None of that was happening. Just ordinary people with a calling from God to do a great work. So it can be done. It'd be cool if that other stuff would happen. Wow, what a sight to see, right? But you don't want to be in a situation where that stuff is necessary. If God's having to send down 10-foot angels with blazing eyes and chainsaws of fire, you're in a real bad situation. Thank God that you're in the situation that you are, and that God has given you the skills and abilities and the talents, and is blessing you with the resource and sending the right people that you can complete a great work for his kingdom through you and through the people around you. Nehemiah was just an ordinary guy with a vision and help from his God. Nehemiah 6:16 says, when our enemies and the surrounding nations heard about it, they were frightened and humiliated. They realized this work had been done with the help of our God. The greater the opposition against you, the greater the opportunity God has to fight for you. And it's not until the work is complete that people will finally go, Yeah, they were right. They were right. God could do it. They didn't have all the means. And God came through. I guess this was a calling from God. And then that will change them. You want to change somebody? You're not going to argue them into faith. It's something they got to see. Because anybody can talk, and words are cheap. But when they see a work done, a mighty work done, that you didn't have the means to do, which Village Heights successfully does every year and shocks people, and they come along and they goes, I don't know what you got, but I like what you're cooking with. I'll join in. Because they can see the evidence that when you have some faith and some willing people, God can do some great things through you. He can do great things through every single one of you, not just because of whatever the church is doing, but whatever you're doing in your own life. You will never finish what you don't start, though. You got to find the time to find your grit and get to work. If you've missed any of this and you're like, I don't know where to start, go back and listen to them. Go back and listen to them. It will change you. I guarantee it. So will you find your grit? Will you do that? And will you join with us? And I can't wait to hear in your life too, where you have found your grit and you says, this person, I love them and they're destroying themselves and I will not stand for it. I'm going to pray for them. I'm going to be in their life. I'm going to sacrifice so God can do some great things. I'm going to keep building this business because God has called me to be a blessing to people and to others. I'm going to keep doing it regardless of what's going to happen, regardless of my circumstances. And maybe it's for you personally. Maybe you're dealing with some kind of addiction. And you're like, I don't know what it is or how I can do it, but I'm going to keep going because I know God has a calling on my life and I have a better purpose to serve. And I'm going to keep fighting for it. I'm going to get the help that I need. Maybe it's your marriage. Maybe you're having a tiff right now. I don't know. Maybe something has happened that feels unforgivable. Maybe the circumstances aren't looking good. You decide, I'm going to find my grit and I'm not going to give up on this. Because it's hard to find something beautiful of a companion that will support you for the rest of your life. And that's why Scripture references it constantly. It's a beautiful thing. Find your grit and watch your life change and the lives around you change as well. And you can live out the same journey, not literally, hopefully not, that Nehemiah has also lived. Because the same God that helped Nehemiah is the same God that exists today, and He hasn't changed. Even more so, He's giving you more opportunity through Jesus to be more connected to Him. Take the opportunity. Talk to Jesus about it and get to work. Let's pray. Lord, it's intimidating sometimes. You've called us to a great purpose. You've called us to a great work. And the enemy is shouting at us, threatening us, trying to distract us. Or maybe our egos are getting in the way. Our pride is getting in the way. We've been hurt. Maybe it's something in the past. Maybe it's something we're dragging along with us. Lord, I pray right now you give everybody clarity in what that is. Whatever the thing is that's stopping them, give them clarity to see through it so they can step over it, knock it down, go around it, whatever it takes to continue the purpose, vision, and the great work that you've called them to do. Lord, thank you for giving us grit. Thank you for giving us that thing inside of us and our free will that you have blessed us with to say if nobody else is going to do it, it might as well be me, and we're going to get after it. And Lord, I pray that you be with the people right now. Some of us are working with a tool in one hand and a weapon in the other. I pray that you give them provision and protection. And that you send other believers along to help and guide with them through this process. And Lord, I pray that we don't bow or run or cower in the face of fear and threats. That we decide that leaders lead out front and not from hiding. And we're going to lead in your name and watch the great things happen. Lord, let the spirit and character of Nehemiah embody all of us and watch a great work happen in your name. In Jesus' powerful name I pray. Bless Village Heights as we go. Amen.